Hey guys, my name's Win and I make videos on how to style and manage curly hair. I made a video maybe like a year and a half to 2 years ago when my hair was a little bit shorter on how to style curly hair at that length. And I thought since I've been growing it out for about 22 months and it's quite a bit longer, I'd make another video showing you guys how I do it now. Now I will say in advance this process is a little bit more involved than my previous process, but you know, if you want bomb curly hair, you gotta put in the work. So let me walk through the products I'm using these days. I'm actually gonna wash it and condition it off camera and come back for the styling routine. But before we do that, I wanted to kind of give you an overview of what we're gonna do. So lately I've been using this product. It's called the Curlsmith Curl Quenching Conditioning Wash. And I know in my previous video I was using a lot of Diva Curl, and you may wonder why, as I go through this routine, I'm no longer using Diva Curl. And if you haven't heard already, there's been a big controversy with them. I haven't personally had issues with it. I did notice when I switched, my scalp stopped being a little bit flaky. But there are people claiming that it's made their hair fall out in clumps, that it's given them terrible rashes on their scalp. And you know, there's enough curly hair products out there these days that I kind of figure, you know, don't take the risk. You spent all the effort growing your hair out anyways, so why would you want to take the risk of it all falling out? So this is what I wash with these days. It's a co-wash, meaning it's a very mild wash and you don't have to use a conditioner after. So after I do that, I've been using this primer before I do my styling routine. Now I will say this is the Moisture Memory Reactivator from Curlsmith. I don't really think you need this product, but since I have it, I've been using it. Supposedly it gives you a bit of UV protection, which you know is always good. So for my styling routine, it's similar to how I did it before, but it's evolved a little bit. I use this Hold Me Softly styling balm from Curlsmith, and the good thing about this product, it's similar to the Shea Moisture Smoothie. That product also, they changed the recipe and I noticed that it was kind of starting to behave a little bit differently and was a lot heavier for my hair. All the Curlsmith products, they're natural and they work really well. I've liked them, and since I needed to find something new, you know, here's what I went with. But any kind of cream should work for this step. This is really just to help moisturize and tame the curls and help define them. Then I've been going in with a Denman brush, which looks like this, to help define them. This step, you know, you don't necessarily have to do, but I found it has yielded a lot of really good results. And so I've been doing it. And then finally, after all that, I've been using this Curlsmith Curl Defining Styling Souffle, and this is basically a gel. I love this product out of all of those. I really like this one. I probably will try some other ones because I've only been using this line for about a month, and I like it, but I've noticed like on day 2 or 3, it tends to like frizz out just a little bit more than I'm used to. And after all that, I have been using this wonderful Dyson Hairdryer that I actually got for Christmas to diffuse my curls. And I'll explain why I've been doing that a bit more later. And then sometimes if I diffuse all the way, I'll take a bit of Argan Oil. This is a Purador Pure Organic Argan Oil. You can just buy it on Amazon, and I actually use this for my beard as well. So it works good for me. And then I'll kind of walk you through how I like finish that off. But that's kind of what I've been using right now. So let me show you. My hair is like pretty frizzed out right now because, you know, I've brushed it since. It looks a little bit crazy. But yeah, so like I said, this has been growing for about 22 months. It comes down to about here on this side. The front is about this long. On the sides, probably, I don't know. It's probably about 10, almost 12 inches now. So it's getting pretty long. But yeah, so if you'd like to see me go from this to this, keep watching. All right guys, so we are back. I just got out of the shower. I used that co-wash I showed you earlier. Scrubbed my scalp really well and just kind of clipped it up soaking wet so I could show you guys the styling routine. So when you do all these steps, you really want to have your hair soaking wet. I feel it defines the curl a lot better and you'll just have a better success rate. So take my advice there. So the first thing you're going to want to do is prime your hair if you decide to do this. Again, I don't think this is absolutely necessary. I just have the product, so I've been doing it. I think if anything, it adds a little bit of slip in your hair, which is like kind of a slipperiness, so that it's easier to work with. I'm just gonna brush that through, make sure it's all well incorporated. And I know somebody's thinking it, so I'm just going to say it. None of these products are sponsored. I bought these all with my own money. I wish I was a big enough YouTuber to have sponsored products maybe in the future, but we are not there yet. So brush that primer all the way through. And then the next step you're going to want to do is section your hair into 2 or 3 sections. My hair's pretty thick, especially on the crown, so I will usually section it into 3. And so that would be this crown area, the middle area, and then the lower area where you have the longest hairs. So I kind of go about here, straight back, and then just kind of make like a horizontal line. To get that, you just kind of spin it up, and then any kind of clip will work. I use these little scrunchy clips. That one's gone. So clip that one up, and then I go about eye level, straight back. Grab all the hair. And twist it up, kind of like this. And really all you're doing here is sectioning it out to make sure you can get to every section and really work the products through. So like I said, it's really good to keep your hair super soaking wet when you do these steps. So I have this little, like it's like a continuous spray bottle, and sometimes it gets messed up, so just kind of like open it and close it sometimes if it gets stuck. But this is like a really good way. You see, you just click it a few times and it keeps spraying just to make sure everything stays really wet while you apply these products. Next will be the Hold Me Softly Styling Balm from Curlsmith. So take about maybe this much. Rub it in your hands like this, and then just kind of smooth it through. And sometimes I'll flip back and forth to make sure I'm really getting it through. Again, this process definitely takes a little bit of time, but you know, I usually only wash my hair like, I don't know, maybe once every 3 to 4 days. And that's pretty much it. So for me, it kind of averages out over all the days. And so the next thing I've started doing is using this Denman brush to help sort of define the curls. I'm going to show you kind of how I do that with one section, and then I'll probably time lapse it through the rest. But basically I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did to the bottom section, the middle section, and the crown section. And then I'll be ready for the next step. So when you're using this Denman brush, the cool thing about it is because it has this sort of like curved profile, it sort of helps your curls find their curl pattern in a quick way. So usually I will brush it a couple times just to make sure everything is straight, and then get kind of close to the root, pull it out, and kind of like you're curling a ribbon. And you see how like these all just get really defined. And you're gonna wanna kind of pull sections of each thing or each kind of larger section. Like here I'm doing this one, and you just want to keep doing that same thing over and over again. So let me see if I can. So brush it out, and then like you're curling a ribbon. See? So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side, the middle layer and the top layer, and I'll be back to tell you the next step. So now we're at the middle layer. Just kind of a recap, it's kind of the same process. I'm gonna take a little bit more because it's a bigger section. Spread it through, trying to get like all the pieces pretty evenly. The back of my head is a little bit coarser, so I try to get more product in that area. And then again, I'm gonna take a section. And if this seems like, you know, I'll probably make a video in the future on how to use a Denman brush a little bit better. But just for the length of this, I'm gonna save that for another time. But if you guys would like, Mains by Mel, who's another curly hair YouTuber, who I really love her videos. She kind of approaches everything from like a sort of scientific way that makes a lot of sense. I'll link her video. She did one on how to use a Denman brush and like kind of the differences it makes. And if you're interested in this, I mean, you can see like, look how well those are defined. But if you're interested in this styling technique, her video is a great place to start. So remember again, just coming out like you're curling a ribbon. Yeah, and you can see they kind of start to form curls. So I'm gonna finish up the rest of this section, and then when I get to the top, I'll explain what I'm doing there. All right, so once you get to the top section, instead of going in sections that are kind of like vertical all the way around, I usually go in kind of like linear sections from the back to the front. I have a lot of hair on the top and have a hard time kind of managing it, so sometimes I'll switch it into two sections. So let me just kind of go through that really fast. Split it in the middle, like this, best I can without messing everything up. And then put this one here. And for each of these sections, I'm going to use about that much. So grab all the pieces of that section, smooth the product on like this. Just make sure to get it all the way through. And then take the brush, get close to the root, brush it out. And again, like you're curling a ribbon, and I kind of smooth it down like this as well. And then it just kind of falls back nicely. So let me finish the rest of this and I'll be back to tell you the next step. So this front section here, I just want to make a quick note. This one's kind of important to get really smooth because it like is right in the front of your head. And if you don't do it right, it'll kind of show. All right, so that's all the defining with the Denman brush. It does take a little bit of time, but you know, it speeds up once you've done it a couple of times. And I think it's worth it because it makes the curl stay for a couple more days. You get a really like soft and defined curl. And you know, if you want to look your best, you know, you got to put in a little bit of time, like I said earlier. So I'm just going to check really fast to make sure there's no curls around the edges that are frizzy. Because sometimes if there are, you might want to like finger coil them like this to make sure they're looking how you want. And everything seems to be looking good. So something you're looking for at this stage, like if you kind of see on the backdrop, like there's no like frizzy pieces sticking out, and that just means that when it dries, it's going to be very well defined and you're not going to see frizz. So to lock this in, I use this curl defining styling souffle, and this is really like a gel. It's very interesting consistency. I don't think you can tell. It's almost like Jello, but I take, and it's very weird. Like if you've ever seen flaxseed gel, it's kind of similar. But I take about like this much. You have to emulsify it in your hands, kind of like this. And then I kind of go to the side and like starting on the ends first, slowly smooth it down like this. Making sure I'm getting everything. And this is really just like sort of creating a cast and like locking everything in. You can kind of push it back up. And then I get a little bit more for the other side, not too much. Flip everything over. Again, about the same amount, maybe a little less. And just kind of smooth it down all over. And once you've done this a few times, honestly, it gets a lot easier. It just kind of becomes part of your like getting ready routine. All right. So usually, I would be, and I always have like a couple pieces here that get frizzy, so I just sort of put up like finger coil them. All right. So after you have this, I will usually wrap it for about like 5 to 10 minutes. Just so I can like, cause I'm usually doing this in the morning, so I can get ready for work, maybe have some coffee, whatever you like to do. And it saves a lot of time when it comes to drying with the hairdryer. So all you do is flip everything down, take a microfiber towel. This one is by Aquis. I'll link it below. I'll put it like this, and then just twist everything lightly, trying not to disturb anything too much. Put it straight back, and then clip it back. And not the cutest look ever, but nobody's probably gonna see you but yourself. So give me about 5 or 10 minutes and I'll be back to finish up the styling routine. So now that we've let our hair dry a little bit in the towel, again, cutting a little bit of our blow drying time, we're gonna take it out, thank goodness. Being very careful not to create any frizz. At this point, it's a good time to just take another look, make sure there's no pieces that are looking extra frizzy or anything. I think this looks pretty good. So we're gonna move on to blow drying. So these days I've been using this Dyson blow dryer that I told you guys about earlier. I really like it for a couple of reasons. One, it tends to regulate the temperature so you're not causing as much heat damage. It's fairly powerful too, and I have noticed a lot quicker drying times, and honestly that's one of the reasons that I started using it, because before it would take me like 40 minutes to diffuse, and now I can do it in like 15 minutes, which really isn't that bad. Especially in the winter, it really sucks to walk outside with wet hair. It's freezing cold. It's not good for your hair either. So really the dryer's just been a win-win situation. So basically what you're gonna wanna do is dry all your roots first. You can do that by kind of leaning to the side and kind of going like this. And then again, flipping your head, doing the other side, going down, doing the back. I will blow dry on low heat and high speed because The high speed in this particular dryer isn't blowing my hairs around, so it's not creating frizz. And the low heat, I think I would rather just stick with low heat and not damage my hair any more than is necessary. So I'm going to kind of start blowing drying my roots, then I'm going to move to the middle section and then kind of go under. And one thing I've learned recently is like try not to disturb the hairs too much when you're doing this. Just kind of stay on the outside. And the reason you're doing that is because when you start like pushing it in and moving it all around, you're breaking up the curl patterns that you work so hard to form. So bear with me. I'm probably gonna put this into time lapse just so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me blow dry my hair. But stay tuned and we will look at the result when we are finished. So now that we're all dry, you just wanna kind of like double check to make sure there's no wet spots because you don't really wanna be breaking up the curl cast before it's totally dry. And what I've started doing, which helps kind of like seal in the moisture and make this style last a little bit longer, is using some Argan Oil. So this is again the Pure Adore Argan Oil. I just take like, you know, maybe 1.5 pumps of it. Get it all over your hands. And then first start by kind of like smoothing it down to sort of break up that cast. And you can see how it's kind of going from like ramen noodles to like actual curls. That's what happens when you use a gel. And then I'm gonna go back and just kind of scrunch it a little bit to break up that a little bit further. Kind of flip your head back and forth. And then I usually go down and shake at the roots just a little bit. And kind of get it how you like it. I usually wear it all kind of to one side, and that's like whatever side is sort of behaving the best on whatever day. And that's pretty much it. So let me kind of give you a little spin so you can see how this looks when it's all finished after you did all that hard work. So here we have the front, kind of from this side, back, the other side. And it may be like, I think it might be like, you know, maybe like 3% still wet, but that's okay. It'll air dry the rest of the way, and it shouldn't like frizz up or get too crazy from this point on. So yeah, there you have it. Thanks so much for following along this long. If you're still watching, you're a trooper. I know that was a lot of steps, but as you can see, it'll have a good result. If you guys have any questions, please comment below, or videos you'd like to see in the future. Always looking on new ideas of what I should make. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, it's dat.win, so dat.win. I started doing a couple TikToks, but it's a lot of work, so we'll see if I keep doing them. That's also datwin. And until next time, thanks for following me, and good luck with your curly hair journey. Thanks. Bye.